See Donovan go and talk to Dwyane Wade on the sidelines in games. Well, what types of things can he learn from a guy like Dwyane that compare or contrast to what he learns on the other sideline?
Well, let me first start. I said when Dwyane, was first announced that he had become one of the owners of the team, just how terrific I thought that was for our entire group. And um, I've asked him and to weigh in on some things for me personally. We've had a number of text exchanges. I try not to wear him out because he's a busy guy. But it's been really great for me personally to be able to use him, as a resource. And I try not to overburden him, but he's just been unbelievably receptive. And to have someone like that, and again, speaking for myself personally, that has the level of experience, the intelligence, the feel that he has for the game, and particularly for the playoffs, is a resource that I think is really unique. And so, some of that conversation has evolved around, defensive concepts. Some of it's evolved around Donovan. So I love it. And, I don't ask for, I don't ask a lot of questions about what they're talking about. I trust that we're all on the same page. And there's probably things that Dwyane's capable of giving him, that I'm not, which, I think is a positive thing that he's getting that information from someone that truly cares about him and that Donovan really respects. So, he's got great feel for that. Donovan's got great feel for that. So I think it's great.
All right, Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune's next.
When we saw some moments from Joe last night where there was, maybe hesitation or indecision in terms of, when to pull the trigger, when to make certain plays. It seems to have been a little bit more of a theme through these first, 6 playoff games this year. Is there anything at all that you're concerned about there? Is it just him playing an unfamiliar role, doing stuff he normally doesn't? Is there anything that is kind of key to getting him locked as the playoffs go on?
So I'm gonna be the contrarian. First, I don't think there's a role that is unfamiliar to Joe, which is part of his value to the team. He shot 8 threes last night, so clearly, there isn't that much hesitation. And I would argue, and when you watch the film, I think he led us in assists again last night. How many assists did he have? 6, 7. So a lot of times for Joe, it's a question of him, taking a shot, which, it's hard for Joe in my mind to take a bad shot from 3, because he's such an effective shooter. But he's also capable of getting in the lane and making a play for someone else. And, in a lot of times, getting the ball to our bigs. He's one of the best guys because of his size, at making people be indecisive in the lane. I think, when you see him go down the lane and ball fake and then lay it in, being able to score at the rim and the paint, particularly when people are playing small, is a real asset, and it's something he's good at. So it's always a little different, when he is a primary ball handler. Say for instance, when Mike and Donovan were both out. But I don't think there's a lack of comfort or hesitancy. And I think, maybe the best way to look at it in my mind is you see what he's done on defense, and the first couple of possessions of the game, how locked in he was. And when you go, a long stretch, I think we missed 20 some shots in a row. There's a lot to be said for getting to the rim, and we don't, it's a little bit, of an oxymoron that I can say, keep shooting. And then also say, let's get to the rim, let's get to the foul line. But I think all those things can exist together. And I think Joe's one of the best guys in our team, of making all those things happen. getting in the lane and getting someone an even better shot, in addition to taking his shot. So I've got so much confidence in Joe. I've seen him for so long. We're so connected, and those are the conversations that we have. And really for him more than anybody, finding that balance. And I've used the analogy of a utility infielder. You know, he can come in, the ability to come in and switch positions. And, you know, I don't know what kind of fastball he's got, but whether it's a pinch hit or a double play, or we put him on base to run, or he plays center field, there's a lot of things to balance for him. And I think he does as good a job as that as anyone in the league. There's a reason that he was, I think, right behind JC as the sixth man of the year. And also, you know, was our starting point guard for the last month of the season. So it's, you know, Joe does so many things that it's easy to analyze, you know, any one of those, you know, half a dozen things. But I do understand the question. I think it's a valid one, but I also think it's one that, you know, that he does a great job, you know, finding balance in. And again, you know, and I'll tell him this, if he's 2 for 2, I'd rather have him be 1 for 9, because I think that's, you know, that impacts the game as much as anything. And that allows him to do other things. And he knows how I feel about that.
All right, Ryan Miller, KSL.com.
Hey, Quinn, especially after he missed last postseason, what's it been like to kind of just see the joy that Bojan's been playing with this playoffs?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, Bojan's, there's so much competitive fire in him. I think there's some players that care so much that, you know, it's hard for them sometimes to get to the next play because he wants it so badly. And I think when you find that joy infused in your game, you really lose yourself in the game. And that's what I've seen. I saw it defensively, you know, the other night, and, you know, that's something that he's taken a lot of pride in. And, you know, we've had games where I love it when he shoots late. You know, it's almost like regardless of what the game has been like, you know, when we throw ahead to him, you know, and he's got a contested corner 3 with 3 minutes left in the game, I feel like that shot's going in. And it's with everything that he's been through this year. You know, basketball is something that, you know, he's played all over the world from a very young age. And to have that taken from him, you know, even for a short period of time, relatively speaking, it just takes time to get, you know, to find that again and to find your feel, you know, and find that kind of that place in your mind where you are more relaxed, the game slows down. And I think that's when you really do have fun playing. And that's what we're seeing.
Rebecca Harlow, TNT.
Hey, Coach, you know, with the way that you've empowered this team this season, do you breathe a little easier in moments like last night when Ty decides not to call a timeout and your guys are getting back on defense? You know, it's going to come down to one more step. Do you breathe easier in those moments these days?
Yeah, I do think, you know, those situations are always, you know, they're always ones you can second guess. And, you know, that situation in particular, you know, with, you know, do you foul, do you not foul? Oftentimes, you know, we'll look to foul when someone's back is to the basket. It's hard if someone rises up and hits a 3 and you haven't fouled. All those things that's such a part of coaching. But to your point, you know, I think one of the best things that we did last night was we communicated. And, you know, players that have played together, regardless of what the game plan is, I think it's great from a coaching standpoint to feel guys be able, you know, to adjust to situations. And that's what, you know, I think we saw last night where we had multiple contests and guys were really conscious of trying not to give up, you know, a 3 and those multiple effort plays that I think require teams to be connected in order to do. certainly the moment helps. There's more urgency, but it's so hard to. I think that's part of our profession, that you always, look back and, had they made a shot, I might have felt differently and said, we wish we fouled, or, who knows how those things go. But to your original point, I do have a lot of confidence in our group and their ability to communicate and talk and sort things out. And sometimes it's better for me to get out of the way, and that's the best way I can coach them.
Julie Jag, Salt Lake Tribune.
Sorry, I had to get a little unmuted there. Hey, Coach, I was hoping that you could give a little love to the play that Derrick Favors has been, to Derrick Favors' play of late, and especially in the playoffs, and talk a little bit about whether you expect to see him have more minutes going forward, even if Rudy isn't in foul trouble.
I don't think I can give, like, the amount of love I have for Fave is runs on a pretty deep level, and for a lot of reasons. I think it was 5 years ago that Doug Collins came and spoke to our team, and he had something that was really interesting to say. He was talking about knowing your role, accepting your role, and then starring in your role. And for Fave, his role can be really malleable. And as you mentioned, whether it be foul trouble, even if it's a short period of time, if it's a 2 or 3 minute window, the way that he's been able to impact the game has been tremendous. And, it's a luxury to have a guy that is the level of player that he is, that's also selfless enough to understand that oftentimes the game doesn't dictate, him playing a certain amount of minutes. His minutes fluctuate. And sometimes there's, you could look back, or Fave could look back and say, wow, I was playing great. Why did he take me out? And I'm sure there's part of him that feels that way. Everybody wants to play more. But the impact that he's had on the game has just been tremendous. And, he's different than Rudy. There's times where Rudy's unique, and Fave's unique in his own way. And maybe the most unique thing about him is he's a guy that stars in his role. And I think that example that he sets for our entire group, I think that's one of the reasons that he came back here, that he knew that regardless of what his minutes or his role looked like during the regular season, that he's a guy that's going to be crucial to us, if we're going to be able to have success in the playoffs. And I'm fortunate that, we've had a relationship over a 7-year period. That's, I've been privileged to have that much time with him. And our relationship is personal, and it runs deep. And I'm appreciative of the confidence that he has in me to make those decisions and to be supportive of them.
All right, last question, Lawrence Murray, The Athletic.
Hey, Quinn, you discussed Joe's ability to just keep shooting, keep being aggressive, but defensively, without Mike Conley, it seemed like you were able to take advantage of the fact that you're starting game with Joe, with Bojan, with Royce on the wing, and making Paul and Kawhi uncomfortable. It's not the first time that we've seen those guys be uncomfortable against this Utah team. But do you feel like there's kind of an advantage to Mike not being on the floor, allowing you to play lineups that better allow you to better match up defensively to defend the Clippers right now?
I don't think there's ever an advantage to not having Mike on the floor because I think Mike's that good. But I do think that it is a different look. Those guys are so hard to guard. And whether it's Royce or Bojan or Joe, in this case, we're talking about, I just want to see them compete. They defend differently than Mike does. Mike's able to press up on the floor and use his quickness, and he'll play differently in pick and roll. There may be more opportunities with Joe and Bojan, or I think, you saw it last night with Royce and Bojan to switch certain actions. But I think that depth is something, that's an asset for us and has been an asset for us all year long. And, it is a little different look. But I'd love to have them both on the floor. Hopefully we'll be able to have that too.
All right, that's all the questions for today. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.